I grew up fighting Marc Marquez, Scott Redding on rivalry, regret, and the roads we take. In the gritty heart of motorsport, where talent meets turbulence and dreams are often forged in the silence between victories, few stories strike a chord quite like that of Scott Redding. Once hailed as Britain's next MotoGP star, Redding's name has resurfaced not for a dramatic win or a controversy, but for something far more human reflection. But before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to this channel and don't forget to like this video. Let's continue. I grew up fighting Marc Marquez, he said recently. Not with bitterness, but with a kind of battle-scarred honesty that only time and distance can bring. We raced each other through our teens, and I used to beat him, a lot. That last sentence doesn't land with arrogance, it lands with gravity. Because for those who remember the 125cc class of the late 2000s, it wasn't always clear who would become the legend and who would be left chasing shadows. On a cloudy afternoon at Donington Park in 2008, 15-year-old Scott Redding became the youngest Grand Prix winner in history, while Marquez, 2 years his senior in experience but not in age, was left trailing behind. That win wasn't a fluke. Redding had speed, grit, and enough fire to torch any doubter. But behind the scenes, the seeds of two very different destinies were already being sown. Marc had backing, Redding said plainly. He had Red Bull, Repsol. I had nothing like that. I was fast, yeah, sure, but I had no structure, no machine behind me. It's a familiar story in motorsport, or in any elite sport, really. Talent is essential, but alone, it's not enough. Support, resources, and the right people can shape a champion. The absence of them can derail one. I had management that didn't really understand motorcycle racing, Redding said. They didn't know what I should be saying in interviews. They didn't know what sponsors wanted, what to wear, how to act. I didn't even have proper media training. I was just a wild kid on a fast bike. He smirks when he says that. Not out of pride, but out of truth. In an era increasingly dominated by branding, polish, and PR-ready personalities, Redding was, and still is, raw, unfiltered, and in some circles deeply respected for exactly that. To me, rules were there to be broken. I didn't fit in the system, and the system didn't want me to. Where Marquez became a corporate icon, a gladiator clad in the armor of Honda's finest machinery and Red Bull's marketing engine, Redding remained a maverick, moving up to Moto2, then MotoGP, but never quite finding the right home. 5 years in MotoGP with Honda, Ducati, and Aprilia yielded flashes of brilliance, but the machinery and maybe the mindset were never in sync. If I had made different choices, if I had better guidance, maybe things would have gone differently, he admitted, but I don't regret it, not really. Every wrong turn made me who I am. That who is a man who clawed his way back to the top, first by winning the British Superbike Championship in 2019, then finishing third in the world with Ducati and World Superbike in 2021. A rocky stretch with BMW followed, but in 2025, Redding is back on a Ducati and back to doing what he's always done best, fighting. It's not just about trophies anymore, it's about legacy, about dignity, about staying in the fight. There's a quiet power in the way Redding speaks about Marquez now. Not as a rival, not as the kid he used to beat, but as a mirror, reflecting what could have been and what never was. Marc is one of the greatest to ever do it. That's not even up for debate, Redding said, his tone stripped of ego. But I know what it was like to race him before all of that, and I'll always have that chapter, that part of the story. Because in the end, Scott Redding's career isn't just about the wins or the losses. It's about staying true in a sport that often punishes individuality. It's about showing up year after year, even when the odds aren't in your favor. And it's about knowing that while some champions are built by brands, others are built by battles. And Scott Redding, he was born in the fight.